The garden path was dappled with the soft light of dawn. Each step he took was slow, deliberate, the weight of his years a familiar companion. He held 2 steaming cups of coffee, their warmth a comfort against the morning chill. Bird song filled the air, a gentle symphony welcoming the day. He reached his usual bench, its wooden surface weathered smooth by time and countless sunrises. It sat beneath a sprawling oak, its branches reaching out like protective arms. He placed the cups down, one on each side, the steam curling upwards in the still air. The empty space seemed to pulse with a presence, a phantom warmth. He sat down slowly, his hand reaching out to touch the cool wood of the bench where she used to sit. He closed his eyes, the scent of the coffee mingling with the memory of her perfume. Roses and lavender, a delicate fragrance that always lingered in the air around her. He could almost hear her laughter, light and musical, as she teased him about putting too much sugar in his coffee. 2 spoonfuls, darling, she would chide gently, her eyes sparkling with amusement. It'll rot your teeth, you know. He would just smile and take a sip, the sweetness on his tongue a reflection of the joy she brought to his life. They would sit together, watching the sunrise paint the sky in hues of pink and gold, their hands intertwined on the worn wood of the bench. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves overhead, sending a cascade of golden brown fluttering down around him. He watched them fall, each one a memory, a whispered secret shared between him and the woman who had been his world. He thought he could almost hear her voice in the rustle of the leaves, see the flash of her smile in the sunlight filtering through the branches. The birdsong continued, a chorus of trills and warbles that filled the air with a bittersweet melody. It was the same song they had awakened to for so many years, a soundtrack to their love story. He sipped his coffee slowly, savoring the warmth that spread through him, a physical reminder of the love that still burned bright in his heart. The garden was a tapestry woven from their shared moments. Every flower, every tree held a memory of their love. He could almost feel her presence beside him, warm and comforting, a testament to the enduring power of their bond. The empty space on the bench was not a void, but a testament to a love that transcended physical presence. It was a reminder that some connections ran deeper than the grave, that love could exist beyond the boundaries of time and space. He sat there for a long time, lost in his memories. The silence beside him no longer empty, but filled with the echoes of a love that would never die. He knew she was gone, but he also knew that a part of her would always remain, woven into the fabric of his being, as constant and enduring as the sunrise.
Mara's name was short for Marilyn, but she always said Mara felt more like her. Light, simple, less formal. She said it the way one introduces the sun. She had a presence that warmed the air around her. People smiled when she walked into a room, not because she was loud but because she carried peace like a well-worn shawl. Mara loved tulips and thunderstorms. She believed they were cousins. One bloomed after rain, the other danced through it. Elias always remembered that. On rainy days she let her hair fall, so the sky could feel a little beautiful, she'd say with a wink. Mara wasn't afraid of silence. She could sit with Elias on that bench for an hour and say nothing, yet it felt like the fullest conversation. Her laugh burst like wind chimes, light, playful, and always unexpected. Sometimes she'd laugh at her own jokes before even finishing them. Elias adored that. She hummed when she cooked, always the same melody from a song neither of them remembered. Now, that tune haunted Elias in the most tender way. Their love story wasn't a whirlwind, it was a steady bloom. 2 people showing up for each other every day. When he asked her to marry him, it wasn't with a ring, it was with 2 cups of coffee and the question, "Will you sit with me forever?" She said yes before the cups even cooled. They built a life, not a perfect one but a beautiful one. Every week they had a ritual. Sunday morning coffee on the bench, rain or shine, even when life was busy, even when they argued. That bench became sacred because of her. It was where they mourned, celebrated, and shared secrets. It held their history, Mara had a garden behind their home. Her hands were always dirty from soil, but she loved that. "These hands grow love," she'd say. She planted daisies, tulips, and one stubborn rosebush that never bloomed, until the year she passed. That year, it bloomed red, deep red, like it had waited for her all along. Elias clipped one and placed it on her side of the bench. Sometimes he would speak to the air, saying things like, "I hope you're still dancing in the kitchen, love." Elias remembered every version of her, young, tired, laughing, brave, quiet, and every version lived inside him still. Mara wasn't just a chapter, she was the whole book. And the bench? The bench was the cover, worn but sacred, where their story was read page by page every morning. Even after goodbye, because Mara had never truly left. Not from the bench, not from him.
Am I the only one who didn't know silence could be this loud? Elias and Mara sit on a quiet bench, hands almost touching, their silence a language of its own. Elias places a cup down, and from his pocket a note. "Will you sit with me forever?" Mara's smile says it all. Before the coffee cools, she's already said yeah. 2 cups, a bench, and forever. I will never overlook the quiet moments again, after witnessing their story. The seasons pass like pages, and gently, quietly, Elias and Mara build a life not with grand gestures, but with steady presence. Together they create a rhythm. Sunday mornings with coffee, and even on rainy days, even after small arguments, their love isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It shows up in rituals, in presence, in forgiveness. Mara organizes books by how they feel. Elias pretends to understand. He never quite figures out her tune, the one she always hums. But he learns to love the not knowing. Their life becomes poetry in motionless moments. And the bench, it remembers every one of them.
Morning light spills through the window. The world feels no different. Birds chirp. The kettle whistles. Elias carefully prepares 2 cups of coffee, like every other day. He hums softly, carrying them toward the bedroom. He opens the door. Stillness. Mara's hand, still. Her chest, unmoving. A soft expression frozen in peace. The steam curls from the coffee, untouched. Time stops. Elias doesn't cry, not yet. He sets both cups down gently, sits beside her, holds her hand. Memories flicker in his mind. Her laugh in the garden, her planting tulips, the humming in the kitchen, her hands in his, back to the room. A single tear rolls down Elias's cheek. The next morning, Elias walks to the bench. Alone, he places both cups down, one for him, one for her. The cup on her side still steams in the cold. He places a daisy beside it. He speaks softly. "I brought your favorite hazelnut." The bench doesn't reply, but the wind moves gently, as if listening. Elias walks slower now. A squirrel waits by the bench. The rosebush in their garden blooms red. Elias clips one rose. He lays it on her side of the bench, then sits down beside it. His voice cracks, but he smiles. "You beat me to sunrise today, love." The bench, 2 cups, a rose, one empty side. But it doesn't feel empty. Not to Elias, not to the bench, because some absences are full of presence.
The first days after Mara were not loud with grief. They were quiet, hollow. Still, you don't realize how much someone moves until they don't. Elias moves through the house slowly, not out of weakness, but out of reverence. Her shawl still hangs by the door. He pauses, brushing his fingers across the fabric. A spoon she stirred her tea with, the cup still faintly stained. He doesn't weep. Not yet. Grief isn't a wave. Not today. It's mist, fog. It clings to the spaces she once filled. He walks past the garden. The stubborn rosebush now blooms without her tending. He kneels beside it, cuts one bloom gently, just like she used to. His hands are dirty. She used to say that meant love was growing. Inside, the air is warm, but he feels a chill. Her handwriting on a grocery list still pinned to the fridge. Her books still stacked by feeling. A note she once left in his jacket. The pillow on her side of the bed. He opens a drawer and finds a small card she'd once written. "I'd sit beside you forever." Elias exhales. Deep, heavy, then stands. The next scene, the bench. Foggy morning. He walks to it alone. Places her cup, her flower, her book. He doesn't speak yet, just sits. The silence says everything. His hand rests on her spot. There's a place she used to sit. It's still hers. I don't fill it, I just wait beside it. The camera slowly zooms out. Elias on the bench. 2 cups, a single rose. One memory, still alive.
There were no more whispers, no shared glances, no hand to hold, but still Elias spoke. Every morning he came, 2 cups in hand, heart quiet but full. He'd sit on the old bench and greet the space beside him. "Morning, love. It's chilly today." No reply. But he never needed one. He spoke like he always had, softly, with love wrapped in memory. "I saw a robin this morning," he'd smile. "The same one you used to talk to, still bossy." The wind would stir, leaves would rustle. And sometimes, just sometimes, it felt like she was answering. People passed by. Some looked, some pitied, some just moved on, but they didn't understand. Silence can still hold a conversation. When love remains, that bench, it had become their letterbox, their chapel, their little bridge between worlds. He'd bring her stories about blooming lilacs, the neighbor's puppy, the sky shaped like a heart. Sometimes he'd ask, "Would you have worn your yellow coat today? Do you think our son will visit next month?" And sometimes he just sat, letting the silence speak. It whispered, "I remember, I love you still. I'm not alone even when I am." He carried a photo of her in his pocket, not to remember her face, but to feel her near. The world rushed around him, but Elias stayed. He stayed where love lived, in silence, in memory, in the space beside him on that old patient bench. And even when it rained, he came anyway. 2 cups, 1 story. "Remember when you used to twirl in the rain?" he asked. "And the raindrops," they answered. It was a chilly morning when I first noticed the boy. No more than 10, backpack slung over one shoulder, shoes untied, and a look in his eyes that spoke of quiet curiosity. The boy had passed the bench many times before, always with his mother, always glancing over at me with 2 cups, but this time he came alone. He paused a few feet away, watching me pour coffee. "Can I sit?" he asked softly. I looked up, surprised, but nodded with a warmth only grief can teach. He sat. We said nothing. The silence didn't need to be filled. Then came the question, "Who's that for?" He pointed at the 2nd cup. I looked at it. Not as an object, but a memory in ceramic. "For my wife," I said gently. "Where is she?" "She's not here, but she used to be." The boy nodded as if that made perfect sense. "My grandma talks to my grandpa even though he's in heaven," he offered. I smiled. "Then she understands too." We sat like that. Still simple. A squirrel darted past. The boy laughed. I did too. "Do you miss her every day? Does it help, talking to her?" I paused. "Yes," I said softly. "It makes the missing quieter." The boy reached into his bag and pulled out a paper sack. "My mum packed too many cookies. Want one?" I chuckled. "Sure." And there we sat, an old man and a boy. 2 hearts who somehow understood the same thing. The boy came back the next day, and the day after. Sometimes we spoke, sometimes we just sat, but always we shared something sacred. One day, "I brought an extra cookie, thought you might want this," I said, and the boy grinned. 2 cups, 2 cookies. One story being remembered, another being written. I still brought Mara's cup, but now I had someone to tell her stories to. "She sounds like a queen," the boy said once. "She was," I replied. "She still is." Her seat stayed empty, but it never felt quite as lonely again, because love once shared never really disappears. It echoes even in the smallest hearts. The letter wasn't meant to be found quickly. It was tucked away, quiet, patient, in a drawer Mara rarely used, folded into thirds, sealed with a dried daisy and marked in her familiar hand, "For when I'm gone." Elias found it by accident, looking for a photo. It slipped from the pages of her old gardening journal, like a whisper meant only for him. His hands trembled as he opened it, and then, in the fading light of their home, he heard her voice again. In ink.
My dearest Elias, if you're reading this, then I'm gone from your sight, but never from your heart.
She knew he would still be coming to the bench with 2 cups, still talking to the space she once filled, still loving.
Thank you for always seeing me, for always remembering. I'll be in the bird song, in the wind, in the warmth of the sun on your shoulder. And one day, I'll be there with my cup, just where you left it.
He didn't cry, not at first. He just read it again and again, then gently placed it on her side of the bench, beside her cup. From then on, the letter became part of his ritual. Sometimes he read it aloud, to the wind, to the birds, to the silence. Sometimes he let the boy read it, her words coming alive in a young voice full of wonder. And those who passed by, some stopped, some listened, and many left changed. The bench had heard so many things of promises, laughter, and tears. Now it heard Mara again, through paper, through memory, through love. Elias kept the letter in his coat pocket. He said it warmed better than wool, because some words, the right words, don't fade, and sometimes the quietest voices echo the loudest.